Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another video on the channel. You joined me today about 30 minutes into a mulching project. I have here a Takeuchi TB260 with a Loftus mulching head on it, and let me show you what we're working on today. So believe it or not, somewhere in all of this is a pond. I'm doing a job for a local church here in Wilmington, North Carolina, and North Carolina's going around doing inspections on ponds, and the inspectors gave them 60 days to get this one cleaned up to where they could see it because you couldn't even get in here. I've been working for about 20-ish minutes, just getting an entrance here, getting a feel for the machine. And this is a little bit of a sketchy job because there's a fence that runs all the way along the top of the slope. So I can't do what I would normally do, or well, this is the first time I've done a pond mulching job, but what you would typically do would be just sit up here at the top of the slope and reach down to the bottom of the pond, but I can't do that because of this fence. So as you can see here, I'm having to track along this slope. But the reason I'm able to record this today, I'm recording this on my phone right now, but I actually got an action camera. My dad upgraded and he gave me his old DJI 1. So it's not the best action camera in the world, but I did a mulching job recently with a skid steer and a forestry mulcher, and I'll put some pictures of that on screen now. But I wasn't able to film it because all I film with is my phone, and I can't really do in-cab shots with my phone. And I didn't want to leave my phone on the tripod outside and risk it getting hit by something. But now I have an action camera. We'll get some in-cab action because you can't really shoot with a tripod when it's this tight through here. And then we'll get a little bit of third-person view as well. I actually stopped because I hit some rope that I had to cut out of here that tangled up my mulching head. So I figured it was good a time as any to break out the camera, but yeah, we'll be working on this today, and then I should have another video coming out next week. We've got some more mulching to do on this property that's not quite as sketchy as this pond, but we'll get into that later. So for now, I'm going to put you guys in the cab with me, and we'll get to mulching on this pond. Well, we're bound up. It seems like this mulching head on this excavator binds up a lot easier than skid steer mulchers, and I'm not entirely sure if it's something I'm doing wrong or if it's a lack of power in the machine or what. And this is a sketchy place to have to stop. I mean, I'm on a pretty steep slope here. I think this big one here is our culprit. I've got a helmet cam on, and I'm 6'4", so I know all the recording's a little high. Maybe that'll be enough to let it spin. I'd prefer not to have to work on such a steep part, but down there's too wet. Definitely seems like it gets bound up a lot easier than it should. I really don't want to have to track in and out of here a whole bunch, because the more I track over it, the more dangerous tracking over it will become. Well, I'm going to cut the recording and see if I can do something about this. Man, I really hate working on this thing sitting on this slope like this. I better put it on the ground. Alright, she is finally spinning again. Back to work. Alright, well, we are close to being halfway around the pond. I got around there almost to the corner, but it gets too steep there and too wet there for me to make it around, so we're going to have to take out the fence in the other corner over there. As you can see, it's not the cleanest finish right here. That's because of all this riprap. I can't mulch low without messing up the mulcher. And I really wanted to try to take some of the vines out of these trees here, but I just can't really lift the mulcher up that high and maintain stability on these slopes. I might be able to get these from right here, but the camera really does not do justice to how steep this stuff is. The pucker factor here is real. Some of that stuff that fell in there, I'll pull back by hand and grind it down a little bit. And then if I walk through here, you can see all of this is riprap, so I can't get the mulcher too close to that or I'll tear up the teeth. I was able to, on my way back, get up close to the fence along here and clean up along it, at least as best I could. Obviously, you can't get too close with the machine, but you can actually see the pond now, which is an improvement, and I might get up in the grass over there and just kind of try to shave the tops off of some of this stuff, maybe even reach over the fence, because once you get to about here, it was too steep for me to swing the mulcher around and get it up here. So I was only able to get super close to the fence, probably a little over half of the way. But you can see here it's opened up a lot to the pond. There's a forebay there with a lot of trees on it, and unfortunately I just don't think there's any way that I can clean this up, because it's covered in riprap and it's just not quite wide enough for me to actually track the machine across it. So the only way to clean that up would be to go in and hand cut all of it, or get like a long reach excavator with a mulcher on it. Yeah, unfortunately, there's just not a lot I can do to clean that up. But what we're doing here is just opening this up because they're getting an inspection done on it. So as long as the inspector can see the pond and see the spillway over there, they should be fine. And if he wants other stuff done, then there'll be other stuff to do. But I got most of the way along this longer side of it, and I ran into the same problem with this corner over here, where it's just too steep and too narrow for me to actually get the machine through. And you can see you got really sketchy right here, so I wasn't even able to get up here. Again, I may try to get on the other side of the fence and reach over and see what I can do. It's a real shame that they have that fence there. That fence is seriously inhibiting my ability. If you're ever getting a pond installed and you want to get a fence put around it, I highly recommend leaving enough room that a machine can actually get along it, because I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to do in this corner, because it is so steep and so narrow. I mean, I got as far as I could on this side, and there's no way I'll be able to reach all of this from over on the other side of the slope. And honestly, it looks like, I mean, I can't tell because it's so overgrown, but it looks like the entire slope on that side is too steep to track on. So it might end up being that the only way to do that slope is to remove the fence, because it's very steep. And luckily, I'm doing this for a church, so obviously very understanding people, and I'm in the fortunate position of, we all had the understanding that nobody could see what was really in here. So I'm pretty much just trying to do the best I can to clear it up and get it to where the inspector can see it, and then they'll kind of go from there. And there may be some more work for me here, there may not. So it took me, I got almost halfway around the pond. It was about an hour and a half of machine time. It took me about 2 hours because the mulcher kept binding up, and I think I was just trying to push too much stuff through it. You can definitely see it now, so I'm going to talk to them about getting that other corner of the fence down, and we'll see where we go from there. Alright, well, I have not heard anything back on taking down the fence for the pond, so we're going to go ahead and start part 2 of this project. So we'll be doing the first half of this part and the first half of the other part today, and finishing both parts tomorrow. So what we've got to do, we've got a bunch of vines up here on this hill to clear, a little bit of brush over here that needs to all be cleaned up. Then if we come down here, pretty much all throughout here, we just basically need to go in and clean out the little stuff. That's definitely going to take a lot longer than the pond. The pond's probably only going to come out to like a 4-hour job or so. I'm halfway done with that, and it's 2 o'clock right now. I stopped and took lunch, but the machine didn't get here until 11 o'clock, which means I have it until 11 on Friday. So if I have to, I can come out here Friday morning and finish anything I can't finish. But as late in the day as it stays light, I have a pretty good feeling that I'm going to be able to get all of this done. But I'm going to set the camera up on the tripod for a little bit and get you guys some footage of me cleaning up this hill. Alright, well, I'm going to jump in here and talk a little bit more about the job than what I did in the intro. So, when I originally came to look at the job, I just looked at the part that I'm doing now. This hill with all these vines and overgrowth, and then the side down the hill with all the small trees. They just wanted that cleaned up and opened up because the church owns this lot. If you think about where the pond is, we're on the lot just to the right of that pond. But yeah, they asked me to come take a look at it, and I had originally quoted them to just come in and do this with a skid steer and a brush cutter, because a forestry mulcher was kind of overkill for it. All of its 4-inch trees are smaller that they want taken down, and most of it's just vines and brush and stuff like that. So made sense to do it with that, and I quoted them to do it with that, and they said they'd get back to me. And then I heard back from them again, and they said that an inspector had stopped by because the state of North Carolina is coming around doing inspections on ponds, and they wanted to get a price on getting cleaned up around the pond. And I said, well, I'd have to bring in an excavator with a mulcher for that, but why don't I just go ahead and quote you on doing both, because even though it would be more expensive to get both done than to just get the pond done, if they wanted all of it done eventually, it made a lot more sense to just come in and do it all with one machine than bring in 2 different machines at 2 different times. So that's why I'm doing a job here that would have been better suited for a skid steer with a mulcher or a skid steer with a brush cutter, and I'm using the excavator with the mulcher because I needed the excavator to do the pond. I didn't even know the pond was there the first time that I looked at this job, so I was kind of surprised when they called and told me that they were looking to get an area around a pond cleaned up. And of course the problem with the pond, as I mentioned briefly at the beginning of the video, is that it's got that fence around it. So you can't track around the flat part of the slope and just go around the pond and reach down on the bank and mulch it. You actually have to track on the slope, which was a little sketchy, but that's alright. We got it done, as you guys will see in the next video. Now, the last thing I want to address is the camera footage from the new action camera. The lighting on it is very much off, and the in-cab footage was a little shaky. And this is the first time I've used this camera, and it's definitely not the highest quality video I've produced, I won't lie. I didn't realize there was a setting for the filming brightness that I had to change on the action camera. So all of the exposure is off in the lighting, and I've adjusted it in post as best I could, but it still doesn't look quite as good as the footage on my phone. But the next videos, all the videos I record will not have this problem. It's just this one and the next one coming out. And then obviously the in-cab footage is very shaky. I basically just took a sticky mount and mounted it to my hard hat and was recording off of that because I was obviously, as I mentioned, I was given the camera for free, which I very much appreciate, but it did not come with a suction cup mount or a magnetic mount, and I was not able to find one in town. So I've ordered a couple of those. So yeah, hopefully the action camera footage from here on out after this video and the next video will look a whole lot cleaner. But I'm going to stop talking now and just let you guys enjoy the rest of the video. Alright, well this is what we got done in day one. We got the whole top of the hill cleaned up over here. Well, I say cleaned up. It's a little disappointed in that mulcher. It's kind of hard to tell from the video footage, but it really doesn't leave the cleanest of cuts. It leaves a lot of small little stumps kind of sticking a few inches out of the ground. It doesn't seem to really want to do anything with these. So it honestly looks a lot more like a bush hog. I'm going to have to see if there's something I can do to clean this area up a little bit, because it doesn't look quite as good as the mulching that I did with skid steer mulcher, but we got the whole hill cleaned up, and then made my way down here. I did all this off camera. I made it around here. There's a big old pile of wood right there. I need to clean up around it a little bit from this side. I worked on it from the other side, but for the most part I got that done. And then all this around here. A lot of trash in here. I took that piece down, that big chunk there. It was a branch, a dead branch hanging off one of the trees, and I cut it down. And that machine does not seem to want to shred it up. But I got to about right there. We're not doing any of that at the back. We're just going along this side. So I got well over half of this done. I would say somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4 of this is done, and about half the pond done. So that's going to be it for today. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.